differently. And right now, if you would please welcome from the class of '97 here at Calhoun, Mr. Jordan Peele.
I already see some people I recognize. What's going on? Let's see, I had John Rader over here. Represent. Erica, is Erica in the house? There you are. Hi, Erica. Who else? Who else was? Any other teachers? Tedeschi? Come on, you can talk. Ninth grade English? And you're not going to raise your hand, Phil? It's really great to be back here, and I just wanted to talk, I know you guys have this, the Raise Your Voice theme. I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about my journey, finding my voice, which started at Calhoun in a lot of ways, and just talk to you about kind of what we do on the show, and how we use our voice, and how we, a little bit about our process coming up with some of the sketches, and then just open things up for questions, if you guys have any questions. I went to PS 87 IS 44 for elementary and junior high school, which are two large public schools. You guys know 77th and 78th, and I grew up Upper West Side. I never had fun in school. Never. I was the kind of guy that I was good in my classes and socially, making friends with people that I could communicate with. But then there's all these other schools and like these big, big kids in the other classes who would, you'd throw your shoes in the middle of the street and sort of pick on you. So it wasn't really my vibe, let's put it that way. I came to Calhoun for 9th grade, and I was one of the few students that was entering the upper school having not gone here. And I really appreciated the size of Calhoun, the attention that we got, and more than anything, I appreciated the fact that it was a family. You knew everybody in the school. There's nobody that could sort of judge you that you couldn't confront and talk to, sort of win onto your side. In my case, it was often through comedy and being kind of a maniac. Artistically. And we, I remember coming and doing the 9th grade camping trip, and I remember, I think I instantly fit into this school, because I think there's a lot of lifers here that needed to be reminded that they actually go to a cool school, and and so I was that sort of, I was that force to come in like, oh yeah, this is an exciting and safe place to be. What's up, Brian? Brian Peters. A boy right there. So yeah. Anyways, that's pretty much my story about at Calhoun, and I had a great time. I did had several projects like FDR, an art magazine that me and my best friend Ian Cooper, Rose Cooper's son. I don't know if you guys know Rose. We made an art magazine at one point, just a sort of, we're not the newspaper sort of thing. We got a bunch of kids, and I remember we had this pitch that we would be printing out this art magazine, basically a comic book that had 30 pages in it, and we would print one out for everybody in the upper school. And I remember the school was like, yeah, that sounds great. I mean, it's your expression. Go for it. So of course, every Tuesday we would just drain the copy machines of paper and toner, and then of course we at the very beginning we asked them to pay people to pay 25 cents. That got shut down real quick. I remember it's just a great environment to make up your own rules as far as your self-expression goes, and people will really listen to you and give you that opportunity, even if it's expensive. So you know, that was just, you know, one of the sort of things that kind of made me fall in love with this place. Anyway, onto the journey. I went onto Sarah Lawrence College, which I love. This is Bronxville, New York, upstate. And this was a place where I really kind of put together what I wanted to do for a living. That's what college was for me in my journey. And I didn't really know what I was going to do. You know, I wanted to be a puppeteer. That was my declared major. Take a bunch of theater classes and be a puppeteer, and then, you know, I don't know, be a Muppet someday. I don't know what the ultimate goal was. But while I was at school, I took psychology and like literature classes and some art classes, and, you know, developed this theory that, you know, the human body is kind of the best puppet, the most complicated puppet that we have. And so I ended up in this comedy troupe that a friend of mine and myself started. We were called Judith, after Judith Light, who was the mother in Who's the Boss. Just absolutely random. Nobody knows that reference anymore. You know that. And I just fell in love with comedy, fell in love with sketch, and at some point realized I had to move to Chicago, which was sort of the mecca of comedy at that point. It still is. They have this place called the Second City in Chicago that, you know, just awesome people have come from like Bill Murray to Steve Carell and all the, you know, Tina Fey. This is like the place they all graduated from. So, you know, I figured that out, and I knew I wanted to do that. Went to Chicago, just started waiting tables, seating people, watching the shows, and just generally getting inspired. And another sort of grassroots thing that I was doing was with my friend that I moved to Chicago with. We had we had a group called Two White Guys. She's a white girl, and so we had this sketch group that went around, and we you know, put together these little shows, and you know, huge musical numbers. We got a little bit of attention. We both got picked up by this theater in Amsterdam called Boom Chicago, and so I flew out to Europe 3 years, just did comedy, sketch, and improv, and really sort of honed my craft. Ended up going to Mad TV in LA in 2002 or 2003. And so that was like, you know, the big time. I didn't really want to leave Amsterdam, but you gotta go, you know, if you get an opportunity to be on television in this career, you gotta do it. And so I had this foundation of these skills that I had been developing over the years, but I don't know that I had my voice yet, my comedic voice. And it's a difficult thing to figure out, especially in show business. Who you are, or who you present yourself as, is you know, 90% of what you can achieve in a lot of ways. That is to say, auditioning, you have to, you know who you're representing, and so that sort of causes you to experiment with certain boxes that you can put yourself in, or boxes that, you know, you sort of refuse to be put in. That is to say, ultimately, I think the voice that I've sort of come up with is something new and fresh to me in the end of the day. So just backtracking, sort of just to streamline what I'm talking about, because I'm getting a little convoluted here. I went on lots of auditions, and I never really had a place that people could say, oh yeah, okay, I know, this is the dude, you're the dude. I never really had an archetype that Hollywood understood. So I had to sort of forge that, and along with my friend Keegan Michael Key, who I met in Chicago, and then on Mad TV, we sort of put together the voice of the show Key and Peele. And as far as what we do, our main mission statement is to make people laugh. And we really believe in sort of the cathartic power of laughter. That if you are hitting someone's funny bone, you are hitting at something true or something ingrained in us that sort of needs to come out. So the way we think about what we do is through laughter, pushing forward the conversation, and whatever that means, whether it's racially, whether it's politically, whether it's the discussion about sexual orientation, and we tend to like to zone in on hypocrisy, and we like to offer up something that's ultimately going to make people laugh first, and then make them think because of that laughter. And that's what we do. We have an amazing collaborative process. Writers that we picked up through, really every stage that I've just described to you of my life has produced another one of the writers on our show. So it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys remember the Muppets Take Manhattan. I don't know if you're too old for that one. But at some point the Muppets all, or it's just the Muppets, the new one, they do it too. The Muppets are all scattered doing their own thing. And then you sort of call on all of them to come back and bring their best to the situation. That's kind of what it was like putting together the writing staff. So, long story short, the collaboration is based on this idea of no ego in the collaborative process. We're all trying to hit this one thing, this singular voice together, or I should say, I guess it's not singular, it's sort of the Key and Peele dual voice, and that rises above all. And so for anybody who's in a collaborative creative process, it's funny I mentioned the Muppets because that's how Jim Henson worked. Is there's no need for ego in creative process. And that's kind of where I am. And do you guys watch the show? Yeah. Not everybody over here does, but that's okay. You will. All right, wonderful. Well, I just wanted to open things up to you guys. I don't know if you have any questions, big or small. Let's see. I know there's some. Yeah. All right. Yeah. What's up?
What's your favorite sketch on the show?
My favorite sketch on the show. Good question. It changes. One of the things that I love about our show is I was on Mad TV for a while. Everyone always comes up and goes, "Hey man, Stewart?" Like everyone has their favorite specific thing. Everyone, all of the Key and Peele fans seem to have different favorite sketches. My favorite might be Baby Forrest Whitaker, just because it's absolute madness. I don't know if you guys saw that one, but that's the one where Keegan plays a babysitter who, for whatever reason, is babysitting a young Forrest Whitaker, who's just absolutely menacing and like, gaga goo goo. I want to put that Lego in my mouth. And so we did this painstaking special effect where we got this little kid named Tay to go do all these movements, and we sort of patted him up, like give him a little Baby Forrest Whitaker physique, and we had him do the scene, and then one night over like 7 hours, I sat there on the green screen trying to match this kid's head. Give me, I want mama's milk. So maybe because it'll work. I like Forrest Whitaker. Yes.
You just did Forrest Whitaker, but could you do some other?
Some other voices? Well, okay, yeah. Ice-T's a little bit hard without, that's a very curse-oriented impression. We did a thing called Puppy Ice-T, which was kind of the Forrest Whitaker thing, but, the voice shower. Puppy Ice-T was, kind of like, he had my head, he was a little puppy. He would say stuff like, "Man, give me a treat, because I'm a treat killer and a handful." Little hardcore dog, man. Ice-T's got the hardest lisp of all time, Straight up, back up, back up. Right. I'll take care of you real quick. Obama, this is, just to give you an idea of, the whole raise your voice thing. We did this sketch called, Obama and his anger translator, Luther. So that was a sketch that, while Keegan and I were writing the pilot, we sat for hours trying to figure out how to tackle the Obama situation. And at the time, specifically, it was around this period where, the birther conspiracy was at its height. And, we just sort of noticed things happening, like, I think it was in the House of Representatives, someone just screamed, "You lie!" At the president, and, he had this moment of like, well, all right, well. And everybody, you just wanted him to somehow, you wanted him to be like, now hold on a second, you wanted him to call the guy out, but at that moment we realized he couldn't do that. So we really just took it upon ourselves, like, man, what would Obama really want to say? And so a few months after, putting the sketch up, we found out, of course, it was on Jimmy Fallon. I don't know if you guys saw this, but he gave us a shout out. At one point, Jimmy's just like, so, what kind of comedy sketches do you like? The comedy? He goes, well, I don't really know, but, there is this one group, Key and Peele. These guys, they do this bit where, they got have me say something, and I say it, and then they got, Luther comes in. I can't say what he said, but it's pretty funny. And through this, so that was, of course, the coolest thing in the world. Not only is he talking about us, but we hit a chord with what we were saying, enough for him to acknowledge us. A couple weeks later, we got to meet the president. One of my lawyer, one of my representationals, called the White House, called an aide at the White House, a guy named Bobby Schmuck, no joke, that's exactly look it up. And we got to go there, and so Keegan and I are in the Beverly Hilton meeting the president, and the first thing he does, he comes up to us and he goes, hey, I need Luther. I need him. He's going to have to wait till second term, but I need him. Which was awesome. He goes on to give us bro hugs, and he's kind of a close talker, which is awesome, because you're just like, yeah. Oh, sir, please. It's like, Michelle likes the show, so, if the first lady likes it, you're good. And he points to me and goes, I understand you got a good impression. I do a pretty good impression of myself as well. It's very funny. And then you guys saw the show. He did this really dark bit, this dark piece of humor that, is spontaneous, but I wouldn't make it up, where he's doing his weekly addresses, the things where he's on YouTube. And he goes, no, not a lot of people get to see this. So check this out. So he's doing those things. And, let's just say, we're talking about the steel workers in Pittsburgh need a clear agenda. Get something in his throat. And he goes to one of his aides. He goes, now, this woman who's helping him shoot, he goes, can I get a glass of some water? She has a little bottle of water. And he goes, all right, thank you. Do we trust her? Secret Service. And then the president does this. And this was, this caught us off guard. He goes, all right, well, just kidding, just kidding. Just kidding. Our mouths dropped, and then, he sort of wrapped it up and was like, all right, then, don't let me do anything too crazy. And he left, and that was the coolest thing. So that was just a perfect example of, like, when you talk about raise your voice, perfect example of how far something can go so fast, and it got ahead of us. We didn't think that we would get any sort of acknowledgement from them ever, let alone that year. How am I doing on time, by the way?
You got
10 minutes, all right.
What was your inspiration behind Van Davion and Mike?
Van Davion and Mike. So these are these guys that these guys on YouTube that we do that are essentially critics of Key and Peele and their characters. And we wanted to do something where we just get to interact as characters and improvise, because our show is so polished, so written, that you know, that's one of our bread and butter, is just improvising. So the character, Mike, we both had something coming into that. Van Davian, who's Keegan's character, is based on this dude who has like a show where he reviews Game of Thrones, and he's just this dude who is just super enthusiastic about Game of Thrones, and at one point, you guys seen that show?
Yeah.
You guys know I'm about to spoil it. Alright, anyway. So he goes, you know, at one point, this guy shoots this video, and he goes, yo, man, they got my man dead. They got my man, they killed my man, yo! How'd they kill my boy? And we just thought it was so funny that he was so distraught about Game of Thrones. And then this character, Mike, is just based on a dude who, this kind of guy we meet a lot, who is a guy who just doesn't, who doesn't want to be caught laughing, does not want to be caught having fun. And, you know, it's like, you know, usually these guys, we sit in our shows like this, like, you know, come on, be funny, what's going on? And then, you know, eventually if we do something really stupid, you know, this guy will go, stupid, y'all being stupid. Y'all being stupid right there, that's stupid. That's stupid. You know, it's like, it's this combination of appreciation, but also, you know, y'all sick. Y'all sick, y'all need to be locked up. But it's funny though. But it's funny. Because y'all need to be put in a straitjacket and taken away. Because y'all sick. Yeah. So we both had these two little characters, and we put that in that little, and then the rest is history. We just messing around in there. Yeah.
In a lot of your skits, like the one about the auction block, you tend to walk the line about racism.
Yeah.
Do you think you've ever crossed that line, and if so, in which sketch?
Crossed that line. You know, I don't think we have crossed the line myself. Wouldn't put it up if I felt like it crossed the line. You know, we talk about, this word is thrown around my industry a lot, of edgy. And what does edgy mean is the question that is kind of unanswered. A lot of people think it means you curse a lot. A lot of people think it means you do something sexual or scatological. To me, it's a little bit of a deeper thing, and I was raised on shows like In Living Color and you know, comedy of like, you know, Richard Pryor and stuff. And edge to me is about walking this tightrope, like you say, but it's doing something that's uncomfortable, that's scary, but that hits on some sort of truth that we recognize, something that resonates within us. And so, if something comes off like it, for instance, it promotes a stereotype, you know, on one hand, I could consider that irresponsible on our part. But to me, I consider it part of, you know, pushing forward that conversation, to sort of give people the pieces that, if they laugh at it, they can ask themselves, well, why am I laughing about this? What am I laughing at? Ultimately, I think the thesis, the undeniable truth, and the thesis of our show is that when you boil all this stuff down, race in itself is an absurd notion that we, you know, we're stuck dealing with, and you know, we will be dealing with for, you know, a while until we're all one race you know, we're all the same color, I should say, you know, which could happen very soon, actually. You know, the auction block scene is a perfect example of a scene I'm a fan of. I wrote that scene, and it's where we're up on an auction block, Keegan and I, with another guy who's bigger. And my favorite thing about the scene is when you start watching it, you're like, oh, see, they're in some touchy territory right now. This is already, and so anytime you can use an audience's expectations, anytime you can predict what they're going to be thinking, you can use that expectation in your art, and in comedy particularly. So what we then go on to do is this scene that has really little to do with race or slavery. It's a scene about vanity. And it's a scene about very human insecurity, because what happens is, as these guys, in the beginning, these guys are like, hey man, if someone, whoever buys us, we are pulling down this plantation. We are, this is it, we're going to revolt. And as they are continuously picked over, passed over, and the new guy gets picked, they get more and more, see, what the, what's that? See, why would you pick him over, it just doesn't make sense. There's a certain point where it doesn't make sense. So we loved the notion that something that human could even trump something as terrible and immense as that situation. I'm going on about that scene, but yeah. Yeah.
What do you think about other shows that satirize black culture, like Black Dynamite or The Boondocks?
What was the second one?
The Boondocks.
Or the Boondocks? I think both of them are great shows. I think the worst thing that can happen is that we stop conversation. And there was a period, especially when I was your guys' age, we were in a period of immense politically correctness. And there's a lot of good things about it, because it opened people's eyes to a lot of the things that get thrown around that sort of lazily, that don't need to be thrown around or have other connotations. But it also it's brought some barriers, and it's stopped certain communications. So I personally am of the opinion that art should go for it, should go for the expression, and we trust that human beings who are drawn to that and will enjoy it can piece together what's going on, why they like it. So yeah, I'm a fan, but I actually haven't watched too much. And I've seen Black Dynamite, the movie, which is hilarious, but I haven't seen the show yet. Yeah. Yeah, Blue.
What's the process for writing skits like forehand, backhand? How long does that take?
Fronthand, backhand. Every sketch has a different life and genesis. Fronthand, backhand is a sketch that's just, it's really stupid. It's like, this guy's just we're on the street, and this guy's like, hey, you want to play fronthand, backhand? I'm like, sure. He's like, choose one. I said, backhand. He hits me with the backhand. It goes on like that. That sketch was, a writer brought it in, and it was pretty much perfect when we first read it, which is rare. Other sketches have a little bit of everybody, and will take the entire, 10, 11 weeks that we're writing, and then other sketches are sort of halfway. But the important part is we let each sketch develop on its own time and at its own rate. And yeah, but that one was very fast. Right, next one?
Yeah, under casual circumstances, what's the most interesting thing a fandom says? Do they ever say phrases in your sketches?
Yeah, I mean that's.
Which phrases, if so?
Well, all right. So we, the main one is. I mean, I guess you can probably guess the main one, right? That's what we get a lot. We have, at the risk of saying a word I should, we have this sketch where the catchphrase is, I said, and so people come up to us a lot of the time and say that, which is awesome. Yes?
What surprised you? I mean, it seems like you've gone through so much work to get to where you are now. You have this amazing platform that, where it's almost like you have all this responsibility now, and you have this amazing opportunity. But has anything surprised you really along this journey?
Yeah, it has. One thing that you can never really prepare for what it's like walking around and people. People know you and you don't know them. That's a really strange feeling, because people can divulge how much they know about you at their own leisure. So that's weird. And then there's stumbling blocks along the way, and there's moments where you think, oh well, it's over now. I blew it, or it's not working out for me, and that sort of continues to happen. And so there's you have to get into this zone to know that that's all part of the process, and everything that goes wrong is going to teach you something that somebody who's never had that thing go wrong to them won't know.
Jordan.
Yeah.
3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay. I'll try and get a couple more questions real quick. First, we'll go this way.
So do you think it would be worth it to you to keep doing comedy if, like, for some reason you couldn't be controversial?
Would it be worth it to do comedy if I couldn't be controversial? Yeah, I mean, not really. I mean, but that's because I feel like, you know, the controversy and edge, it means that you're in territory that has been unexplored. And to me, that's the only way to do sketch these days is to be doing stuff that people haven't seen. Otherwise, it's just the same old sketch show. So yeah, no, I think that riding the edge is a very important part of what sketch is and comedy is. Yes.
What was your inspiration behind the pizza delivery sketch? Like, has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, that was very based on, you know, me being the guy who will order a pizza and like a bunch of chicken kickers, and I'll be like, yeah, I think we're gonna have a couple. Well, how many sodas do we need, guys? How many? I'm in my room alone. How many sodas we need? How many sodas? Okay, I'm getting 4, so 1 for each of us. That's great. 4 sodas. So you know, that's called the nugget of a scene. When you have something like that is just so you know, kind of hypocritical and relatable, then you know you can write a scene around something like that.
What is your favorite East-West Bowl character?
My favorite East-West Bowl character would have to be Carpetron Duke Mary. And I think we're good. Thank you guys so much.